Garfield on it. The world, chico, and everything in it.
Where's the black man's government? Where is his king and his kingdom? Where is his president, his country, and his ambassador, his army? I'm protected by the ancestors. Voodoo runs in my bloodline. Don't tell me nothing about the damn devil. Yeah, cool, got you fearing you. No religion, but I'm spiritual. The man used it as propaganda to divide us all. I'm just giving truth. The earth in fear with the black man. The earth in love with the black man. Even down to our fashion. They take the culture, then cash in. What you know about Gary Morgan? What you know about Richard Spikes? Your luxury car wouldn't have a shift. Your intersection wouldn't have a light. All praise to the black woman. See, without her, you wouldn't have a life. Have respect. Find yourself disrespecting her, then we at your neck. You don't want us in America, then return back what we did for her. You would have nothing on this blood soil. You all spoiled. Matter of fact, we would say before you. Your history books full of falsehood. You can't educate us. We know you dropped crack in the hood to blow our families up. It didn't detonate us. As you can see, it didn't separate us. All it really did was elevate us. You can't kill the original people of the earth. Is you fucking crazy? I am a god in the flesh. I got the blood of a slave. Look at the black on my skin. A beautiful color of shade. Don't be discouraged to say black is black gorgeous. Black is black flawless. Black is black power. I am a god in the flesh. I got the blood of a slave. Look at the black on my skin. A beautiful color of shade. Don't be discouraged to say black is black gorgeous. Black is black flawless. Black is black power. I'm Nat Turner with the smoking gun. Change the comb when the sermon stop. The pastor telling me to keep praying. Life telling me to buy a Glock. The news tells us it's our fault. When we shot down by the cops, we witnessing a modern day lynching. No ropes when they tie the knot. Look at you trying to buy a watch. Look at them finna buy your block, then put you out. Starbucks on your corner, that's how they push you out. Then raise the price. Grandma lived there for years, every day of life. Now she forced to undersell. The system built for you to stay confined. I am a god in the flesh. I got the blood of a slave. Look at the black on my skin. A beautiful color of shade. Don't be discouraged to say black is black gorgeous. Black is black flawless. Black is black power. I am a god in the flesh. I got the blood of a slave. Look at the black on my skin. A beautiful color of shade. Don't be discouraged to say black is black gorgeous. Black is black flawless.
Black is black power. Black is black power. Peace and love to everyone under the sound of my voice. Welcome to another powerful discussion with your sister, Dr. Maat. Thank you, family, for pulling up and pulling up on time. Shout out to the Maat family who is in the building. Shout out to all of you under the sound of my voice and those who will be watching in the archives. Family, take a moment to thumb up the video, thumb it up, thumb it up, thumb it up. Also share this video. Share this video. You know, sharing is caring, and we want to each one teach one in the 21st century. And the way we can do that is simply sharing this discussion. If you're on Twitter, tweet the link. If you're on Facebook, post the link. If you're on IG, post the link, family. Let's get the word up and let's get it out. You see the title, family. Tonight, we will be talking about the biblical Israel versus the state of Israel. And on Tuesday, I announced that I will be unpacking this topic with Brother Garfield, who is more than qualified. I mean, hell, Brother Garfield has written books about this, right? So he's more than qualified to talk about the biblical Israel versus the state of Israel. Because, you know, with all of this, you know, the Israel-Hamas war going on, when you mention the word Israel, people's minds go to the Bible automatically, you know, to the point where you have Black people, you know, and even other, you know, folks who are saying, I'm standing with Israel because I'm standing with God. It's in the Bible. Huh? Think about that, family. You actually have people saying, I'm standing with the state of Israel and what they're doing because they equate the state of Israel with Israel of the Bible. Are these two Israels the same? You're going to find out tonight with Brother Garfield. You know, by the time he gets finished, you're going to know exactly the difference between the biblical Israel and the state of Israel. I see Brother Mathis is in the building. He said, thank you for addressing this because I'm confused about it. He said, I'm of the mindset that the Bible justified the people, we Jews, to take that land we call Israel. All right, brother, you know, thank you for sharing your opinion, right? Brother Michael Johnson said, hey, Dr. Maat, peace and love to you, warrior. Brother Mathis said, justify the people we call Jews to take the land called Israel. I see Sister Tamika is in the building. She said, peace, family, peace, Dr. Maat. Brother Garfield, share this because, I got the live stream. Go live on your channel as well, Brother Garfield. So I see Tamika's in the building. Brother Garfield, go live on the stream yard. Click the link. Let's get them in here. I see Brother Mathis said, I don't stand with Israel, but I do take both the sides, you take both the Israels the same. All right, that's honest, brother. I see Brother Dion Ramsey. He said, old one was neither either, nothing either. Come on, you better teach Dion. Don't spoil it. I see Brother Mike Jackson said, Amani, familia. Peace, peace, peace to you, Amani. Sister Tamika said, thumb up this daggone video. She said, like, share, and subscribe. I see Dr. Craig Samuels is in the building. He said, peace and power. Dr. Maat. All right, family. Brother Garfield went live on his channel right now. So it'll be packed in here tonight. So peace and love to you, Brother Garfield. Welcome back to the platform, brother. Peace and love to you.
Hey, peace and love, peace and love. I want to say, first of all, man, much love and respect for the audience, man. They always show me love over here. And much love of you to bring this topic to the community. And one of the reasons why she would ask me, because this is just something that I specialize in or obsessed with over the last 20 years, studying the Bible and trying to figure out certain things. But I'm ready. I'm ready when you are. Ready to share my screen, ready to go.
Okay, all right, cool. And if my internet, Brother Garfield, has been janky this week. I don't know what's going on, but like on Tuesday, I was interviewing Baba Baruti, and it like went out for like 5 minutes, and he was just stuck on the screen. So if I disappear, you still rock out. All right. If I disappear, you still rock out and get your,
right,
get it.
So we're gonna take a ride tonight. We're gonna take a good ride tonight. I need to exercise what they call it. Exercise the demons.
Hey, I can dig it. Well, let me start off by asking you this.
Mm-hmm.
Are the two Israels the same? The biblical Israel and the state of Israel, are they the same place?
No, totally different. The Israel of the past no longer existed after 722 BC. So you see, when people argue about Israel, there's a lot of things you got to figure out. The storyline that you have in the Bible is somebody writing retroactively and based it on a memory of an Israel. But the Israel that they're writing about in the Bible is not a real Israel. It's really an embellished, dreamed up Israel, which have real characters in it, like a Hezekiah and a Josiah and Ahab and Omri and some of the kings. But after 722, once the Assyrians came, there was no more Israel. Israel ceased to exist. So what happened now is that after the Assyrian exile, they took all these 10 tribes or these people away. And by the way, there's no such thing as a 12 tribes. That's all literature. That's made up in the literature.
You better teach God.
So now, and for everybody who loves the Bible or whatever, nothing I say is to disrespect you, but is only to make you better. I was in a position at one point where I was a born-again Christian, baptized in the church, left the church, joined Rastafarianism, had to do with the Bible also. Then I left Rastafarianism. Then I started mingling with the Nation of Islam, which also had to do with the Bible too. So I couldn't leave the Bible. So one of the things I had to do as a human being is, when you're trying to explain scriptures, and this goes for everybody out there, because 99.9% of the people that believe in the Bible don't know nothing about the Bible. They just believe because it makes you feel good. And that's what it is. Certain things you got to do when you explain the scriptures. You got to know who wrote the Bible, what is the purpose of the Bible, when were these books written, where did the actual writing take place, why were these books written, and how was the book put together. If you don't know the who, what, where, why, and how, why are you even teaching the book?
Right.
So what I've been doing for 2023 is asking people who, what, where, why, and how. If you can't answer those questions or even attempt to, why are you even believing in this book?
Exactly.
That's like you come to me and say, Garfield, I'm putting out the MELTREK series. And you say, okay, Garfield, I know that Jamaicans X, Y, and Z. And you telling me about Jamaica. I'm from Jamaica. You telling me, I'm like, what are you talking about? Who told you that? Where did you learn that?
Right.
Why would you say this? Why did they? So I could ask you the who, what, where, why, and how. And if you can't answer that, why are you even having this conversation?
Exactly.
So sometimes, so right now I'm limiting myself to who I have conversations with, because I realize not to toot my own horn. I'm just on a whole nother level.
Right. They're not there yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not there yet. And I agree with you. Most people believe because, like you said, it brings some comfort to their lives, to believe. But something you said is, you said a few things that are very powerful. You said that Israel that they're talking about, you said they embellished it, or did you flat out say it did not exist?
I won't say it did not exist, but no. Let's be careful with that. Did not exist stuff, because that's
Okay.
kind of like you're putting me on like a little wavy line now.
No, I'm
It
with you. I'm
has
with you. I'm with you.
limits right now. And
Mm-hmm.
you see, I have my powers, my little green powers tonight, so you got to be careful. Now, the truth of the matter is, family,
Mm-hmm.
we weren't there, right? So whenever you're talking about history, it's all about probabilities, right? Just to throw a little methodology in here. So when I talk with the absolutes tonight, I'm not being proper. I'm gonna say this to you guys. When you say something don't exist, there's no way, no methodology to say this didn't happen. You give a probability why you feel that way, right? So what I will say to everybody, I'm gonna break it down in a minute from the website vidar.info with all the info of Israel. But what I'm gonna say to you is the Israel in the Bible is not a real Israel in totality. It can't be real. Certain elements are real and can be proven, but outside of the small little parts, like David and Solomon, right? David has one reference in the Tel Dan Sila, which is very questionable. There's still debates today if it's legit or not. That's the only reference in the entire world of David. And this was made in I think the 9th century or the 8th century BC, the Tel Dan Stele. So if you throw the Tel Dan Stele out, there is absolutely no evidence of David. Now, look at this now. When I talk about Jerusalem shortly from this, let's think about this. There is no Jerusalem before like the 8th century, 9th century BC. So that's a problem, because we teach about David having a kingdom in the 10th century and Solomon, while Egypt was still trying to get up in there with Shai-Shank and all that stuff. So it literally don't make sense. But the people who wrote the book were very creative writers. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Ain't nobody in Egypt, Greece, anywhere wrote a more powerful book. And I'm going to tell you why. Because the book that they wrote, you could read it 4,000 years from now and say it applies to you. There's no writing outside of the Bible that could do that. Think about it for a second. The Bible is written, say it's written 2,300 years ago, and it's written for the time period that it's in. But we are now arguing today about the same book like it applies to us right now. That is nuts.
Facts. No, that's facts. They say that prophecy, that's us. Those curses in Deuteronomy, that's us. The predictions made in Matthews and Romans, that's us. It's happening. Exactly, Brother Garfield. But Brother Garfield, you also said that the 12 tribes never existed. Now, you did say that.
Hey, I get a lot of people. Listen. A lot of people don't like to talk to me because I deal with a reality. And what happened is I get in trouble because I said Jesus is a historical person. But the thing is, when I say that, I say it with the context of that he's historical, but not the miracle work of Jesus. Just the Jesus, not the Christ. Let me put it that way for some people. Just the Jesus, not the Christ. The Jesus exists, but not the Christ. The Christ is the one with the miracles, the resurrection, and all that craziness that people believe in. No, it never happened. You say, how you know that? Because it's against nature. We know basic physics class will tell you nobody was walking on no water. This ain't Chris Angel in Las Vegas working magic tricks. You're talking about a real human being. So at the end of the day, I want to make it clear to everybody, I'm not disrespecting your religion. That's what you hold to. But I'm at this level. In life, Dr. Maat, we go through stages.
Absolutely.
So we have our religious stage, a Christian stage. Then we have the Muslim stage. We have the Rastafarian stage, the Nawapian stage, the Moorish stage, the gods on earth stage, the NOI stage. You have all these stages you have to go through, but none of them ultimately have the ultimate truth. And I've been through so many schools that I'm at a level right now. I'm probably at level 8, and most of the believers are at level 1. You're not where I'm at yet. And I'm not bragging, but I had to go through all of that to be where I am right now.
That's right.
So at the end of the day, you can't fool Garfield when it comes to the religious books. Whether you want to believe in Islam, Christianity, or Judaism, you're going to have to face a reality. And one of the things we got to talk about one day is that this place called Mecca Dr. Maat, anytime you want to talk about Islam, never existed as a physical place until the 4th century AD. So if it only happened in the 4th century AD, how is Abraham in Mecca if it never existed as a place? And the archaeology proves that. Now, the Muslims might get all in an uproar now, but it's a reality. You can't prove. Science tells us there's no archaeology there. There's none. You can't say that he was with Abraham was in Mecca when there is no Mecca. So what we're gonna get into that one day. You're gonna invite me on and we're gonna talk about Islam.
And we're gonna unpack that. Okay, so Brother Garfield, let's get into the formation of Israel. You know, the Israel of the Bible, that formation.
Let's take a look at 2 different slides I'm going to present tonight. And hold on, let me see. I'm so used to doing everything by myself. Share screen. Let's go to this right here. All right, let me bring this over here. Navigation. And let's get to that Israel slide real quick. Hold on, do I have it here?
Garfield got about 100 slides. You always do this, Brother Garfield. Yeah, we go. That's what I want to see. The Israelite origins. What are the origins? Go ahead, Brother Garfield.
All right. So a lot of things that we got to understand about Israel is a lot of people have their own interpretations of what they want. But hey, let's deal with it. Brother Law said that's not true. Brother Law, we can have a discussion about it whenever you're ready. I have the facts to back it up. All right. All right. So now let's take a look. Hold on there. Let me get to my slides. All right. So here we go. All right. So here we go. Israelite origin. So now what we have here, family, is the number of built up hectares in the Canaanite island country in around the Middle Bronze Age, right? This is before they started having people popped up. So when you think about Bronze Age, you think about 3400 BC all the way to around the 1200 BC. So when you look at the Canaanite hill country, these are the cities that they have, are different populated areas that they have. 187. By the late Bronze Age, it reaches around 47. So people started leaving there. So now when you look at the Middle Bronze Age, the number of sites you have drop to around 29. Then the Iron One Age, around 1200 BCE, 254 does pop up all of a sudden. So now, where did these people come from? Did they exit out of Egypt or whatever? No. Actually, and then in the Iron 2, you see it goes up to 520. Now, actually what happened, family, starting around the beginning of the Iron Age, 1200 BC, everything changed where the late Bronze Age Canaanite highlands saw population decline. The beginning of the Iron Age 1 saw a population explosion where for a long time there had been only crickets. Hundreds of new sites appeared, a phenomenon known as the Israelite settlement. Mazar begins his section on the topic like this. Intensive archaeological surface surveys revealed an entirely new settlement pattern in Iron Age 1. Hundreds of new small sites were inhabited in the mountainous areas of the upper and lower Galilee, in the hills of Samaria and Ephraim, in Benjamin, in northern Negev, and in parts of central and northern Jordan. Much of this activity can be related to Israelite tribes, though the ethnic attribution in some of these regions is still questionable. So what we have, family, by looking at all, I'm not even going to bore you guys and read all this stuff, is that this is a map of the new sites that popped up. When these sites popped up, these are all new settlements, not from the old sites. So over 200 popped up. Now, the continuity between many of these sites and later Israelite towns and villages of the monarchic era legitimizes the definition of these settlers as Israelites. I have maintained since I excavated the site of Gilo in 1978, and as have many other scholars, the term Proto-Israelites introduced by Dever and adopted by others to designate the inhabitants of these sites is, in my view, superfluous. Here were the first Israelites. The new Israelite settlement, by contrast, are almost all founded de novo. That many of these villages belong to pre-monarchic Israel is beyond doubt. It's rare that practically everyone is in agreement, so we can safely say that the archaeological record is clear. The Israelites emerged in the Canaanite highlands at the beginning of the Iron One period and settled down in small villages which they built from scratch. Now, I need to say this to everybody carefully here. Let me bring this down so everybody could actually read this. and this is important. In conclusion, the archaeological record is pretty clear that the Israelites appeared in the Canaanite hill country early in Iron 1 after the area had suffered a population collapse in the preceding late Bronze Age. All right. Now, what we need to understand and to make it clear, let me get off this screen right here real quick. Let me get off this screen and bring something else up. What we need to be careful about, family, and be very careful about, the people who formed Israel did not come out of Egypt. Let me just say that again. This is one of the things, I don't want to get into that. One day we could talk about the Exodus and the Joshua conquest. This is why we know the Bible is based off of people reinventing old traditions and adding themselves to it, what's called an etiology. If you don't know what an etiology is, etiology. Etiology is like when you see Manetho is writing the history of Egypt and saying where this group of people who follow Osiris comes from. That's their root, where they come from. When you're trying to tell a story about where you come from, Garfield, you from Cassia Park, Jamaica. There was a guy named David Cassia who fell from the moon. And when he dropped down in Cassia, we basically developed a community called Cassia Park, and Garfield was born there. That's it. It's called an etiology.
But this excerpt that you just read says that they did exist. There were Israelites there.
They're calling them Israelites at that time, because they developed into the people that became the Israelites originally. So what they're saying is, don't call them proto-Israelites or whatever. That's not correct. Call them Israelites, because those are the people who are Israelites who settled finally in that region, came from these new people that came with these new developments. So what we find, family, is that in the Bible, it tells you Jacob went into Egypt with 75 children,
right?
And then they expanded, and they had an exodus. They fought the gods and the pharaohs and all that stuff. And they came out. Joshua came and conquered the land of Canaan, and they lived there. But what happened is, and bear in mind, if you are an Israelite or a Bible believer, do not mention the MELTREK stele, because remember, at 1207 BCE, you are saying, they said Israel is there, right? But Israel is ruled by Egypt. But in the Bible, it says that you conquered Canaan and you ruled the land. So it's contradicting. So if you're an Israelite, don't use it. You're killing your Bible story by using the MELTREK stele. So it's a good find for the name Israel per se, but it's actually a bad find for them, biblically speaking and theologically speaking. So people got to understand that. All right. So don't use the MELTREK stele if you're a Bible believer. Don't use it. Don't use it. Now watch this now. And this is very interesting. The Israelites are Canaanites. In the Bible, the Israelites write against Canaanites and hate them. But that was their way of distancing themselves from these people. Because remember who the Israelites are. The Israelites don't want to be involved with what you're doing. So if you wear locks, Dr. Maat, and they say, yo, we're not messing with Dr. Maat because she wear locks. We gonna stay over here. All the people with locks stay over there near the border of Egypt. We not messing with Dr. Maat because she got locks. So that's what they did. They separated themselves and formed their own community. So this is Israel is a real tradition of them coming in to existence as far as that is concerned. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's be clear now. Let's be clear 100. Let me say, not in Jabari's, let's be clear, in the Dr. Ben way, because Dr. Ben is where they get that from. Just for the record. That's in my slides for that debate too. Let's be clear, family. Dr. Ben used to always say it in his videos. So now they copied him and stole that from him. They steal everything from Dr. Ben. His trips, his Egyptology stuff, everything. They just steal from damn Dr. Ben, man. Poor Dr. Ben. Rest in peace, elder. All right. So now let's be clear, right? Those people now developed into small communities and eventually started some sort of kingship. All right. Now, let me share this page because this is important.
So the Israelites did exist, but you said the 12 tribes did not. That's what you're saying, brother?
That's a part of a literary trope. That's a part of a literary tradition that was invented after the Babylonian exile. And I'm going to prove that to you tonight for anybody who wants to Hey, do me 1 second. Give me 30 seconds. Let me just do something real quickly with my phone. 30 seconds.
All right. Got you. Shout out to brother JT Corn Rings. I see you, big bro. Shout out to everyone under the sound of my voice. I see a lot of you are over here from Brother Garfield's channel. And so thank you so much for tuning in to today's live. Please make sure, family, that you head on over to my channel, Dr. Maat, and subscribe to my channel. Hit the notification bell so that whenever I go live, you will be notified, family. And brother JT, we got to get back on track with our book club, man. I've been grinding this semester, at work and being pulled in 50 million directions. And I know you have as well. So I was thinking maybe we can spark it up again, maybe the second or third week of December. And we can jump back into our book club and read the next book. Our next book will be Slavery by Another Name, which focuses on the Jim Crow era. So, bro, let me know in the chat. Let me know, big bro, in the chat if you're game to start up the book club again around the second week of December, and we can go hard until the end of January and then take another hiatus. So let me know, brother JT Coins. Let me know, JT Coin Rings, in the chat if you want to get it popping again, maybe the second week, the second Sunday in December, and then we go hard until the end of January. Let me know in the chat if that's a go. Yes, Dr. Craig Samuel, Slavery by Another Name. That will be the new text. I actually have the text on my bookshelf right here. Yes, sir. By Douglas Blackman. Thank you so much, Dr. Craig Samuels. So that is our next text, Slavery by Another Name, by Douglas Blackman. And JT Cornring said, yep, that sounds good. Trey said that's what I did, Dr. Watching you on my phone and Garfield on my TV. Ashe. Thank you so much, Trey. Ashe. Thank you so much. Brother Garfield, where you at? You talking about 30 seconds. I've been rambling for 3 minutes. All right.
You using the Egyptian clock. That's why. Shout out to Usual for that contribution, man. Sounds good. JT Coins, peace and love to you. $4.99. Thanks for the contribution. All right. So let's get into this because this is important. This is from the Vidar.info website, and I've been using it for years. So if people want to know about Israel, it gives the whole history period of Israel, the archaeological evidence for ancient Israel. This was from his book that was written in 1992. This was before the Tel Dan Sila was found. All right. Hold on 1 second. Man, I'm doing business, making money at the same time. All right. Hold on a second. Why is this making noise? Okay. All right. So the archaeological record, family. Let me see how I look on the screen. We good? All right. And by the way, too, I want to address something that Dr. Craig Samuel says earlier. We got to be careful with the information that we use. I know we love our Walter Williams. When it comes to the monophysitism and diaphysitism and all that stuff, Walter Williams is the bomb. But when it comes to the Medjugorje not being transliterated, I disagree 100% with him. But Walter Williams taught me a lot regarding the different type of Christian groups. I used to read him in the 90s, but with the whole Medjugorje not deciphered, I don't know about all of that. He could continue that on himself, on his own. All right. So the archaeological evidence for ancient Israel. The first record of the name Israel appears in the Ugaritic text, and it dates to around 1500 BC, and it's the name of a chariot warrior. No connection with the ancient Israel at all, but it's just a name. The next time you find it, of course, we just spoke about the Merneptah stele. All right. And I'm telling y'all, don't use it, because another thing to the Merneptah stele says that he killed all of them off. He killed them off. So you don't even want to use that one. Now, let's get to some of the better evidence that we could find. The Kirk stele is the first reference after Merneptah that we find in history of what you would call the word Israel. An inscription called the Kirk stele, Kurkh stele. It says it refers to King Ahab of Israel. All right, the Kirk stele. The next evidence we have is a short time later, the black obelisk about King Jehu, who is bowing down to the King Shalmaneser III. That's where you find that one. All right. The third record that you have is the Moabite or the Mesha stele that says the king of Moab set up this monument, speaking of Israel and its king Omri. And another thing about this, by the way, ladies and gentlemen who believes in the Bible, this is the Moabite stele writing that they destroyed Israel 3 different times. They killed all of the men off, killed them off 3 different times. But bear in mind, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say this to y'all honestly. I don't think the Moabites killed off the Israelites. Just like how the Israelites said they killed them off in their book, I don't believe that either. It's just how people wrote literature. You want to prop up yourself. When I'm writing, if my children write a story about me or your kids write a story about you, Dr. Maat, they're going to say Dr. Maat was the greatest doctor in the history of America. Not even Black America, America. My children go write about me. Ain't no historian or researcher better than Garfield. It's the same thing with the Israelite writings and the Moabite stele. We had a conflict with Israel and we killed them off. Woo! Sounds interesting. So where did so if they kill off the Israelites, the conversation is over. We could just turn off the cable right now, the YouTube, and the conversation is over. No. But what's interesting about this monument, because remember I said earlier there weren't no 12 tribes. In this same monument, there is the men of God, G-A-D. The men of God, Dr. Maat, were not a part of the Israelites that were killed. They were written about in a separate way. They weren't even a part of the Israelites. So in the Bible, they're a part of the 12 tribes, but in a historical monument that we find in archaeology, they're not there. So you need to ask yourself now, people are arguing the 12 tribes of Israel, the tribe of God is the people in North America on the 12 tribe chart. I'm going to show you how ridiculous it is. God, G-A-D, is mentioned in Isaiah 65:11 in the Bible. When you look at the Strong's for the meaning of the word God, it meant fortune or luck, because God, G-A-D, was the God of luck. So when he was the God of luck, what happened, ladies and gentlemen? He would give you good fortune. So in that time period, Dr. Maat, we have records, archaeological records of people with the theophoric element at the end of their name. For those who don't know what the theophoric element is at the name, or the theophoric part of the name, Israel, L is a theophoric element that's attached to the name.
Bay,
Kel or Daniel is a theophoric element. Now with Isaiah, I have the word Yah at the end. That's a theophoric element. So now in the ancient Near East, we found records of Abu God, Joe God, people with the God name, because God was a deity. So the men who worship God, they call them the men of God. They didn't call them the God, the tribe of God or whatever. There's no reference to anybody calling anybody a tribe. There's no tribal nothing. It's just a group of men living in different areas that has contributed to this whole Israelite movement. There's no tribe at this time. The only tribe you have possibly is Israel. And if you have a tribe, it might be like the tribe of Omri or the group of Omri. And we're going to get to that in a second right now. Watch this. So now there's no 12 tribes. I'm making a point that there's no God. There's no Manasseh at this time. There's no Manasseh tribe. There's no Simeon tribe. All right. And I could use the biblical text to improve it. In the Song of Deborah, when the war happened, she named out the tribes that participated, and 5 of the tribes wasn't there. The tribe of God wasn't there. The tribe of Judah wasn't there. The tribe of Levi, tribe of Simeon, and I think the tribe of Manasseh wasn't there. So if there was 12 tribes there at the time, why are those tribes not included? Guess why? Because at the time, the place where you call Judah, geographically speaking, was sparsely populated. So they couldn't be considered a tribe at the time or anything, because there was no Jerusalem, none of that. There's no Jerusalem till like around the 800s, you know. But hey, if you're a Bible believer, you're going to think David and Solomon ruled before that. But anyway, after the monument 3, you have the monument 4. The Tel Dan still speak of the house of David, which reads the house of David, Beth Daoud. Careful studies have since shared that it's Beth Daid. Reference is in fact to the name of a small village. So there's an argument about the Tel Dan still right now, but let's just say it does say the house of David, just for the record. All right, that's what the consensus is. And everybody knows Garfield is not an expert on Hebrew or ancient Near East literature. I go with what the expert says, and I'm a rock with the consensus until that's overturned. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I gotta take a quick break again. I'm sorry, family. I gotta take a quick break. This family calling me. Give me 2 minutes.
All right. He said 2 minutes, family. And I want you all to clarify something because he just kind of kicked out. He just presented a lot of information in the chat. Could you tell me earlier when he was showing the map and he was talking about the population boom? So initially he said when he showed the map there, he was showing that, at one time there were 248 sites. I think in that land on that land strip. I think he said around 248 sites. So you all can correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. And then he said that there was a population decline, right? Like, and so you had maybe 28
I'm back.
sites and
Sorry.
then 48 sites.
All right.
hold on, brother Garfield. Hold on.
Monument.
Hold on, brother Garfield. Hold on. So you said
Adad
he said
Nirari's the
hold on,
third.
brother. Hold on, brother Garfield. Hold on. I don't even know if he can, even if he can hear me. But hold on, brother Garfield. I don't know if he can. I don't even know if he can hear me. He's still talking. Look,
Call it Israel.
brother Garfield, can you hear me? Brother Garfield, can you hear me? Chat, can you all hear me, or he just can't hear me? Tell me in the chat if he can hear me. If you can hear me, he can't hear. Okay, hold on. Like he keeps going. Hold on, brother Garfield. He
Talking
has
about
his
the same
screen up.
place.
He has his screen
Monument
up.
6.
Hold
The
on.
Rima stele mentions the King Joash of Samaria, not Israel.
I'm just let him rock out, y'all, because he can't hear.
The main area that was the capital of Israel, or whoever is in charge of the area. Now, number 7, Tiglath-Pileser III lists King Menahem of Samaria in a list of other conquered North Palestinian and Syrian kings. So there are kings that's in the Bible that's in the records. The last record of the kingdom of Israel was when Sargon II records his conquest of Samaria. Hold on there. Oh, you was calling me, sis?
Yes, you can't. You couldn't hear me. I was talking the whole time. Can
What
you
happened?
hear me? Can you hear me?
Oh, I could hear you now. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So you had jumped right back in, and I was talking to the audience, and
Oh,
you
my
can
bad.
hear.
My
So
thing
they
was
were
down.
like,
I apologize.
go back up to go back up to Monument 4. Go back up to Monument 4 because I was asking them to help me figure out what you were saying earlier, because you mentioned that there was a population boost and then there was a decline and then there was another population boost. And are you saying that those sites that were there once it boosted again, that these were the sites that formed Israel? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
But you made it right. Okay, so you said that those were the sites that formed Israel, but those people are not the people that came out of Egypt. I just want to make sure I heard you correct and I'm following you.
There's no people that come out of Egypt.
Okay, so where did those people come from?
There's a conflict between history and the Bible and archaeology. Those people were Canaanites. They lived in the lower hills and they went up to the upper hills. That's all it is. They were in the lower lands of Canaan and they moved to the upper lands of Israel. That's all it is. There's no coming out of Egypt or none of that. There's none of that. And that's what's crazy about it.
Okay, all right. So start with Monument 4, brother Garfield. That's what I was trying to clarify.
Any more questions do you have regarding what I said earlier?
No. We're good to go. I just needed that clarified for me.
All right, cool.
Okay.
Man. Now he ready. All right. Hold on 1 second. Yes. Here we go. All right. Okay. Now, Monument 4 is about the house of David, the Tel Dan inscription that I spoke about earlier. And then Monument 5 is the Nimrod slab, which was 803. So I was saying that if you go to 853, you have Israel mentioned in the Kirk stele. And then by the time you reach to number 5, they're now calling it the land of Omri, because Omri was the king and he was recognized by the Assyrians as the king. All right. So more than likely he was paying probably a vassal king. He was paying some fees as a vassal king. And that's why he was recognized in that area. So when you see the Rima stele now in the Monument 6, you see King Joash of Samaria. They're not using Israel. They're using Samaria, or they call it land of Omri or house of Omri. Tiglath-Pileser says he has a king of Samaria in the list, other conquered such and such. Then he talks about the king of Samaria. The last record is Sargon II, who talks about the conquest of Assyria. And he said After this Assyrian conquest, there's no more state called Israel. So he says he conquers Omri, but let's use that as a marker for us. So let's look at it. What the 8 monuments tell us, not a lot, except that from 853 BC to about 722 BC, we have clear evidence of a small kingdom of Israel around the city of Samaria. This is key. The regular Assyrian name for this kingdom was the land of Omri, or house of Omri, which is mentioned in the Bible. The only capital mentioned is Samaria. Without the Bible, would historians have even called this the kingdom of Israel at all? It would more than likely be known as Omri, or the land of Omri. I don't know about all of that. But anyway, this is northern Israel. When you go to southern Israel now, you're talking about where Judah is. Now, archaeological evidence of the settlement of the Judean highlands, a separate process from the northern settlement, makes it extremely difficult to conceive of the formation of a state until 900 to 800 BC. The evidence points to sparse population and scarce material resources. This is evidence against the possibility of there being any sizable empire or king until that time. Now, this is very important because David and Solomon supposedly lived in the 10th century and ruled over 80 years. So you're telling me after that, they don't have no evidence of these major kingdoms, its sparse population and scarce material resources? There was no conquering kingdom of David or great and wealthy empire of Solomon. Even if a David or Solomon did exist, they would have known nothing of a city of Jerusalem and certainly had no way to wield power beyond a few hills. All right, so now, I'm not even going to go into all of that, but there's no evidence for the limits of Israel's kingdom and no evidence of any united kingdom of Israel and Judah at those time periods. So anyway, the evidence suggests the likelihood that Judah was formed as a state in the 800s BC or in the 8th century BC, in my opinion, possibly by the Assyrians, as a buffer state between Egypt, Samaria, and Damascus to exploit an olive oil industry with Jerusalem as the regional market in the south and Ekron as the main industrial center. The evidence accumulated by the Jameson-Drake establishes the impossibility of a Davidic empire based in Jerusalem. Judah became a state and Jerusalem a major administrative center only in the 700s BC at the earliest. Assyrian and Babylonian records first refer to Judah when it talked about King Ahaz 734 BC, just prior to the fall of Samaria. All right? Now, this is very important, family. Very, very important. Because if you as an individual reading this, you're going to say X, Y, and Z is happening. But when you look at the archaeological evidence, it's telling a whole different picture. Does anybody have any questions in the meantime, Dr. Maat?
No, I think they're listening. I think they're listening. I don't see any comments or any questions in the chat.
All right. All right, hold on 1 second. I got to text this code right here. Here we go. Code, and then I'm done with the phone for the night.
Oh, Lord, I'm going to get you good the next time I'm on your platform, honey, because you know I'm a reciprocity tit for tat person, honey. Yeah. I manage 200 people per week, but when I was on your show for that hour, I gave you my undivided attention for an hour.
I apologize to everybody that's watching. I'm not apologizing to Dr. Maat.
You ain't got to apologize because I'm going to tit for tat you when I get on. I'm going to be on my phone the whole time like, that's my conscious ingenuity instructor. That's my student right there. Up. Go ahead, brother.
All right. So now when we look at the screen, right, you see the Moabite stele from 840 tells us Yahweh was an Israelite deity worshipped in the disputed territory at Nebo. He was dragged off before the Moabite god Shamash. Now we know there's Yahweh being worshipped in the northern part of Israel. This is extremely important. Now look at this though. The Kuntalit Arjud inscriptions refer to Yahweh of Samaria and his Asherah, and Yahweh of Teman and his Asherah. The Kerbet El Com inscription further suggests that this worship of Yahweh and his female companion was widespread. Countless female figurines are the most common archaeological artifact dug up during this period. So we have Yahweh all over. We have the gods of Bethel and Anath. We have it all over Samaria, Yahwistic name, Shemarayaru, Gadiyahu, Yahweh El, Elisha, Baala, Meribal. Several sanctuaries have been found in Israel at Dan, Hazar, Bethshean, and elsewhere. So we do have the worship of Yahweh. So we gotta recognize that. And Yahweh is there. He's in Samaria. He's in all over Canaan. He's also in Edom, in the Arabian desert, whatever. All right. I don't need this anymore. So I'm gonna break down the whole Israel thing now to everybody. I'm gonna go back to some slides, but I want to go ahead, sis.
No, because someone said, please clarify Israel, the people versus the land called Israel. Someone did ask that in the chat.
All right. The Israel. All right. So you see, this is a problem now, right? Because the Israelites come out of Canaanites. This is non-biblical talk right now. Biblically, the Israelites come out of Egypt. In real life, in history, based on the archaeological evidence, based on the language, they're speaking a Canaanite dialect. The history shows them growing up in that region and living in that region. The archaeology, when you look at the pottery, the highlands population growth, the Canaanite DNA, the diet, the animal bones, the burial customs, the pottery, the religion, they're worshiping El, which is a Canaanite deity. We can't go beyond that. The people were right there worshiping that. And by the way, too, if you ever get my book, Misconceptions and Misinformation by the Black Hebrew Israelites, my chapter called No Exodus, No Religion breaks down how Ephraim was in Egypt. How could he be in Egypt and also be in Canaan at the same time inside the Bible? The Bible is showing a story that contradicts the Exodus tradition. So bring me on to talk about the Exodus another time. I don't want to get into that. The book of Chronicles contradicts a lot of the narratives that you have about the Exodus. So that's showing that somebody else is writing a narrative, because when they come out of Babylon, they come with a book and the people in the land said, yo, this is Abraham's land, so you can't come here. So they said, no, you can't be your land because you don't have the book, which would probably be the Torah. But they were saying that we come from Egypt. And the people said, no, we come from Abraham. So there's two different traditions in the Bible. This is not Garfield making it up now. I'm talking in the Bible. There's conflict there. And you could see that they're making up a story now. We came out of Egypt at the time, because the Exodus story is not mentioned a lot in the pre-exilic time period with the writings that we have available. Just like how Abraham is not mentioned also. All right. All right. So let me not babble and throw up all over the place. But let's get to something that's very important. Let's get to this here carefully. Let me share my screen and do what I do best. For somebody say that Israel don't exist, we got to stop saying that. That's just not true. There was an Israel. Whether we agree with the religion or not, we got to be truthful. So when you look at this right here, Hebron is located in the state of Palestine. Shechem is located in the West Bank. So what do you have? At times you have different traditions in the Bible, and certain people like Jacob is more talked about in the northern kingdom, and Abraham's storyline is more in the southern kingdom. All right. Are the 12 tribes from real people? Are they fictional characters? And there's a reason why I'm bringing this up. So when you look at Medes as the progenitor of the Medes, Perseus is the progenitor of the Persians, Romulus the progenitor of the Romans, Helen the progenitor of the Hellenistic Greeks, Ashur is the progenitor of the Assyrians, Jacob/Israel is the progenitor of the Israelites. So when you look at the Medes kingdom, they say, oh, we come from Medes. The Assyrian Empire come from Ashur, Persian, and so forth. So when you look at all these different things, all these different cultures, these people who they're bringing up are basically called eponymous ancestors. Medes, Romulus is not real, but the name Roman comes from there. Hellenistic Greeks don't run around and say Helen is real because they know Helen is an eponymous ancestor. An eponymous ancestor is basically the progenitor of your culture, your people, which is also a part of what we call etiology. So it's to group the people together. So when Jacob and Israel, as a progenitor of the Israelites, when we say he's not a real person, because we understand how ancient Near East literature is written. So if you look at this map right here, the monument of eponymous heroes located in the ancient Agora of Athens, they're not the only culture that wrote about 12 tribes. The Greeks are the ones that originated it. So this is them having 12 tribes or 10 tribes right here. That's what the image is showing. And you look at the eponymous hero, and what happened is they were split up into all type of different tribes, 10 tribes, sometimes 12 tribes, and all that stuff. But then we have the main hero for us is Abraham, Is he an eponymous ancestor like the Greeks? So let's look at what this says right here. Eponymous ancestors are well known from Greek and Latin literature. The ancestral hero Aeolus has 12 children who are the eponymous ancestors of their settlements. Sounds familiar? Yeah, because Jacob is the ancestral hero and he has 12 children who are the 12 tribes who are the ancestors of the people that make up the settlements. So if the tribes are eponymous ancestors, that means the actual tribe or the people don't have to exist. They're just telling a story to try to bring all the people together, just like what the Greeks did. So let me introduce y'all to another word, by the way, for the ladies and gentlemen that's watching. There's a word, I don't know if my sister knows this. It's called chronological synchronistic writing. Let me repeat it. Chronological synchronistic writing. It was invented by the Greeks. You say, oh, Garfield, but the Greeks learned from the Egyptians. Okay, show me a culture that wrote a book and their history with chronology and it's synchronized with history at the same time. Show me any culture in the world that did that. The Egyptians would have writings from one time period and stop, but they never had a book. You see, Greeks are the ones that start coming out with these books. You got to put stuff in books. You got to write it down. So when Herodotus used to write, Herodotus would split you up into 12 tribes. And then he would have the genealogical system that you see in the biblical text. So scholars are saying that, hey, it looks like Hectaeus of Miletus, who's before Herodotus. It seems like the genealogical stuff that we see in the Bible in Genesis 10 and so forth comes from the Greeks. Because they're the first. Listen, Assyrians have records, right? And they write down. The Greeks, the Persians have records. The Egyptians have massive records, but they no culture had a book. So this is why the Bible is so similar the way how the Hellenistic folks did their book or how the Greeks did it, because they are actually mimicking, because they were in league with the Hellenistic Greeks. So when they rewrite their book, it's like, oh, we need to have this genealogical formula. So we need to have Shem, Ham, and Japheth. You go in the Greek traditions, you have Shem, Ham, oh man, they sent a new code. Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Give me 1 second. Let me just send this code real quick. Oh man, they're messing me up today. Oh man, give me 1 second, family. 1 second. Give me.
All right, so he gotta go out again, family. So I don't know what Garfield got going on tonight. But my question to you guys in the chat, and I mean, he clarified that whole population boom and then the population decline. But the map that he showed did still show in Israel there. So we're saying, okay, is the biblical Israel the same? Okay, there we go. Go ahead, Brother Garfield. I wanted to clarify
the biblical Israel.
But you showed where they are today, like the little areas, right? Like, so we're saying they're not the same.
When you look at, well, that was a map to talk about Shechem and Hebron. That was from an Abraham and Jacob perspective, not necessarily what's today. What I will say to you is that the genetics and the DNA do make a strong point, and I'm gonna tell you why. In 722 BC, I did say that Israel no longer existed as a nation, as a culture. They no longer existed. But the craziest thing is, what culture were they following when they were there between 853 and 722 BC?
So you're saying they were there?
They were there, but what culture were they following? They didn't have a book. They didn't have a laws and statutes and commandments at the time. They didn't have none of this.
You said they were Canaanites.
Yeah, they didn't have no Sabbath. They didn't have no Passover, no Exodus celebration, nothing. And how we know this, family, because when you go to the Elephantine Papyri, it shows that they were celebrating Passover and it had nothing to do with the Exodus. Let me say that again in case Dr. Maat didn't hear that, because you need a bomb for that.
Right.
When you look at the Jews in Elephantine at the border of Egypt, they're celebrating the Passover, and it had nothing to do with the Exodus. It was an agricultural festival. That's
I believe
a problem.
that. Brother Garfield. I can see that.
No, but remember, if the Israelites were following Moses and saying Exodus and all that different stuff, what would have happened?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is we're saying that the biblical Israel is
Mhm.
not the same state of Israel today, but that you're saying that the Israelites were in that area. So they were in the same area.
Let's be careful. The Israelites were in that a small area,
Okay.
right? Called the land of Omri around Samaria. It's not the extended area of Canaan like the Bible tells us. So what happened is you had other tribes there. And you know what? I forgot I put this in my book, but in the old edition, I have 2 editions of my book, by the way. There's an old edition that I made first, and then I made an updated version. And a lot of people on Amazon is buying the updated version. The original version, which Mika in the chat, she has both of the versions, talks about 6 of the tribes is not really even in the Exodus story in Exodus. And those tribes, and what happened, I'm so sorry, Dr. Maat. I'm so sorry, man. All these phone calls I got to take, but I'm not going to take this one. I'm going to leave this one alone. But the 6 tribes is up to the northern part of is what we call Israel in the Bible. But those northern tribes weren't attached to Israel from the jump. So the Samaria land of Omri, those people, they're not attached to Israel in real life. They're those people who are what you call Aramean tribes or Amaru tribes that are in the northern area. They're not attached. But in the biblical story, they're part of the 12 tribes. Because now you got to account for everybody. When you're writing the story now, you got to account for the 12 tribes and say where this story come from, where that story come from, and so forth. Because when the Assyrians took them, 722 BC, and shipped them out, they never had those names. The tribe of this, the tribe of that, the tribe of Simeon, the tribe of God, the tribe of Naphtali, the tribe of, they didn't have those names for them to ship them. Because when they shipped them, they said, we have Samaritan charioteers that they may join their army. And they had the rest of them working or the rest of them running around and living within Assyria, the empire. So those people, 1 second, 30 seconds. I'm so sorry, Dr. Maat. I'm so sorry.
It sound like you got something going on, but Garfield, somebody put in the chat, they said Brother Garfield all over the place. Where's that comment? Yeah, I'm confused too. Where's usual? Usual, I'm just confused too. I'm over here like, wait a minute. We're saying that they weren't there. Then 1 minute they are there. And that's why I said, well, wait a minute. And I keep asking. I know some of you are like, why does she keep asking that? I because it's not clicking for me. It's like either so now they, when I look at that strip, right? First it's the state of Israel is not the same, as the biblical Israel. So it is like, well, the biblical Israel was embellished and embellished. So I'm like, I feel like we are kind of all over the place. So and AJ is cracking up. Y'all laughing at me. But I'm just like, what? So then he just said a group of people who called themselves Israelites did exist in that land, but I guess not to the extent that the Bible describes. And I think that that's what he is communicating, or that's what he is articulating. I don't know if you all could help me out in the chat, but I believe that's what he's saying, that there were, a group of people who referred to themselves as Israelites who did occupy, I guess, a certain area of that land, but not to the extent that the Bible describes. So I believe that that is one of his points. And I think another point is that these 12 tribes didn't exist the way they describe them in the Bible, and he called them eponymous ancestors, but that these tribes were named after eponymous ancestors. So I think that's what he's trying to convey. Brother Mike Jackson said facts. I think another one of his points, and I'm just summarizing. Thank you, Tamika. I think another one of his points is that he's saying that those sites, when that population did boom in that particular area, he was saying that, those people who did call themselves Israelites were really Canaanites. They were really like the same people. I think he said they came from either the south to the north or the north to the south, but we're looking at the same people. So I think those were his major points. And Sister Tamika saying yes. And I think Mike Jackson said yes in the chat that those were his major points. Because I'm trying to figure it out as well. I'm trying to figure it out as well. Because it's like first, when we're dealing with this whole Israel-Hamas war, like I said, when people hear Israel, they're thinking the biblical Israel. And so what I wanted to do, and the purpose of me bringing him on tonight, was to make the distinction between the two. And I think that I did capture his points, waiting for him to come back. DL, you said you're pretty sure you're blocked now. From where, brother DL? I'm looking in the chat. You said you're pretty sure you're blocked. You're not blocked on my platform, DL. Christian Anderson said, Brother Garfield, you messing up, brother. Legend X said, but to what extent? To what extent? Who is he to say what information can prove the statement that they did exist the way that it was written? Oh, yeah. Yeah, DL, that's why I said you're not blocked on my channel, brother. Yeah, you're not blocked on my channel, brother.
Yeah, let me give you that last comment right away. Let's say it again. He said something about how do we make a distinction? Da, 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 da. All right, listen. Let's be careful right now, because remember they did a DNA test in 2017, right? Where they captured almost 100 samples, and all the samples were J1 markers or E1. I think they found one E1 B1B, but they're primarily J markers. And they said that 50% of the people in Palestine today and in Israel are related. The Israelites and the Arabs are related to those people autosomously. So who are we to say that they're not related? But the Canaanites are the Israelites originally. And what happened is in 722 BC is that the Assyrians transported Arabs because they have a deportation policy. So that policy that they have, they deported Arabs into Israel. So the Arabs and the Israelites were living together. We got to remember that historical Arabs were brought in to Israel and lived there from that time period, from the 8th century BC. And then because that's what the Assyrians did, they deported different people from different areas and brought them to Israel. They brought their own people and they brought Arabs in. So the Arabs were living there. Literally, the Arabs were taken by Tiglath-Pileser. When did the people who were planted in Israel in the 1940s ancestors get into the era? Are they related to the Seleucids of the 200 BC population? No, they're not related to those people. Now, what's interesting is that, and I'm going to tell you what the major problem is, Dr. Maat. When the Spanish took over where I'm from, Jamaica, right? The Spanish were there. They were the most popular people in the country. They killed out some of the Tainos, and some of the Tainos started to work with them. They started bringing African slaves over, right? The Spanish didn't like the Jews. So the Jews supported the British in fighting the Spanish in Jamaica in 1655. So they defeated the Spanish in Jamaica and the British took over. When the British came in and invaded and started beating up the Jamaicans, or the people who were there, remained in the land, and they started bringing a lot of slaves. 1.2 million people came through Jamaica, right? Now, the population began to grow in Jamaica. It don't overturn when somebody invades or somebody come in. You either increase and have children and live there, but you still remain in the area that you're in. In Palestine and Israel, what happened is because of that story of 722 BC, the lost tribe story, what happened is people thought that all the people were gone, but that's not true. The majority of the people stayed in the land. The majority, let me repeat that again for everybody that's watching. The majority of the people stayed in the land because guess why? Because that's where they lived and that's where they grew up. They had no reason to leave. They remained in the land. The only people that think that all these people are lost and they became Native American Indians and all these different tribes they want to talk about is the people who want to teach One West doctrine. So if you want to know what happened to these people, you just got to find out how it was distributed and where they went. These people never left. The majority of them, 90% of them, stayed in the land. So they didn't go anywhere. So you're gonna find people who remain in the land still in there. Now, when you come to Judah, the part of Judah now, that's why Samaritans, let me just say this, the Samaritans who are alive today, around 400 or 500 of them, they descend from these people. They are like the people who are closest genetically to the people that lived in the land. And they continue to carry the tradition. They don't believe in Jerusalem, though. They believe in Mount Gerizim. But I'm trying to say to everybody who says Israel never existed, you can't say that, because the Assyrians document an area between 853 and 722 as a nation called Israel. We can't say that. It's the northern part has nothing to do with the southern part, by the way. The northern part is Israel. That's what we need to, Dr. Matt, we need to be clear about. The northern part where Samaria is surrounding Samaria, that's Israel. The old Israel from the 9th century, 8th century BC. But the new Israel, when you read the book, they want to make the southern part and the northern part one Israel. That's the Bible.
Okay.
In real life now.
Now we get into what I want.
In real life today, there's a part in Palestine. It's not as huge as how it was biblically speaking or geographically speaking. It's actually, it's kind of funny how to say it, because I would have to put a map up and show a map side by side and show you. But the biblical, you see what happened is, when we talk about Bible, good point, Norma X, Bible is not, it's called historical fiction. So you're going to find Hezekiah, who is a king who has all the Egyptian seals on him. So you know he's a real guy. It's not that he's fake, but the stories he tell about 185,000 soldiers being killed by Yahweh, by rats or whatever, we know that's not true. So there's embellishment and there's stories that's put on to make your God bigger and better than everybody else. So that's just normal. But the size of Palestine today, Palestine is not the size of Israel. It's possibly a little longer, but Samaria, just surrounding Samaria alone. I'm gonna put up a map of Samaria so people could see Samaria and they could just make their own decision of how the map looks. But I'm telling you, it's definitely not the same size as what people think it was back then. It's not the same size. And the Bible is the one that emphasized the size. But now, as far as 1948, we got to be careful with our hatred toward Bible and Jews and all that stuff. Remember this, right? And this is key to understand Israelite history. You have to, if you don't know the history, just shut your mouth. Stay out of it. Don't try to get involved because you don't like the Bible. You're just going to say all these people never existed. Don't say that, because then you're messing up the conversation, because you're just dealing with emotions and not dealing with a reality. I deal with reality when it comes to these things. And part of the reality is this group. Let me talk about them real quickly. Now, for those who don't know, the Babylonian Jews are real people. These are real people. Garfield, what? What do you mean they're real people? What happened, ladies and gentlemen, the Babylonian Jews, Iraq's last Jews, these people were living in the land where Nebuchadnezzar gave them in Babylon. They left from Judea and they lived here. They had over 13 different towns. They had a town called Judah Town. Hint, I guess who's from that town? Judah Town. And guess what? They own property and they live there. This is where the community comes from that's there over 2,500 years, Dr. Maat. The Iraqi Jewish community formed a homogeneous group and was able to maintain communal identity, culture, and tradition throughout the centuries. 2,500 years. All despite multiple conquests and political upheaval, war, and plagues, they were distinguished from their Iraqi brethren by their old Arabic dialect called Judeo-Arabic. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Judeo-Arabic, why so special about Judeo-Arabic, family? It is replete with biblical Hebrew. You see, you know why I know African Americans aren't the Jews? Because even when you go to Africa, you're not going to lose your language. These people have communities that were stable for over 2,500 years in Persia, in Assyria, in Babylon. Over 2,500 years, they still speak some sort of Hebrew. That's crazy. But they are the fake ones. They were set apart by their dress, their observation of Shabbat, holy days, and kashrut, their unique cuisine, and among many other things, a deep yearning for their spiritual Jerusalem and Zion. Ladies and gentlemen, these people stayed there for over 2,500 years. What are you going to do? They're fake. In 1948 or 49, they had Operation Ezra Nehemiah, which brought them back to Israel. So the descendants of those people, years upon years upon years, 25, some of them decided to move back to Israel. Yeah, they decided to because they had what's called Aliyah. Because remember, originally, Israel was going to be Uganda or Argentina or all the different places, but they decided to make it that place. I mean, it is what it is at this point. We can't turn back times. But the issue is, family, this community has been there for a while. Let's look at something here. If you notice in this slide here, I show you the 13 towns, right? And this is from the Al-Yahuda tablets that these Israelites wrote themselves, Dr. Maat. This is a primary. The Al-Yahuda tablets. You have nothing in Africa, nothing in whatever to say you are those people. These people have primary sources where they lived. And look at this book now, Vines Intertwined. It talks about the Jews of Babylon, but guess what? The archive, this is something called the what is it called again? The Morasho Archives. It consists of more than 800 cuneiform tablets or fragments that preserve financial records of what may be called an ancient banking firm of the Morasho family. Did y'all know the Jews, while they were living in Babylon, was lending heads of states money? Did y'all know that? The records date from 454 to 400, hence the reigns of Artaxerxes. They had how many villages? They had over 30 villages. 30 villages, family. So now they had over 12 or 13. Now they had over 30 villages. They're populating, they're growing. They're still keeping their dietary laws. So in Persia, family, in Babylon, in Assyria, the people continued to carry on their traditions. The so-called lost tribes. So now later on, they built up Talmudic academies in Babylon, Nahirda, Pombedeta, Surah. These are the rabbinical eras. The Pharisees are the ones that started the rabbinical Judaism community. And that's where you get it all from. So now, family, I'm saying this to say to you guys. In 1948, they have Aliyah. It's there. That's why they moved back to Israel. Because the Zionists start what's called Aliyah, so they could return home. Come on home, because the Bible is true. Come on, let's go. That's what they did. And the British, who controlled Palestine at the time, decided to give them a little land. Till it got bigger and bigger and bigger until it got as racist and crazy as possible.
But you're saying at one point they were there. The Jews were there.
By the way, the Jews and the Arabs were there for a long time, over 2,800 years. Mm-hmm. There's records of them staying there, living there, although different people coming from different areas. But a lot of them moved out during the after the Roman time period when the Muslims came in, but they were still there. Jews were still there. Arabs were there. You know, we can't go around and just what happened is Dr. Maat, a lot of people don't know, after 70 AD, Babylon became the home of Judaism. They changed it from Israel to Babylon. So that kind of confused a lot of people. So that rabbinical Judaism came out of that.
And when did the Arabs migrate there or go there during that whole Ottoman Empire during that time period, or it was before then?
Arabs was always there from the time Islam came around. They've always been there. Let me respond to Polymath real quickly. Oh, brother Garfield be all over the place. 1 minute the Israelites were Canaanites that left Egypt. I never said that. That was the main point. They never left Egypt. The next minute they are real and lived in Babylon. Yeah, Judeans are originally not a part of Israel. Only in the biblical text you see this connection, like they have this love affair. Because remember, you had a real war called the Ephraimite War, where northern Israel and Syria were fighting Judah. That's why Isaiah wrote 7:14 about the prophecy of the son shall be born and all that virgin birth nonsense. That's where it comes from. That story is actually a real story in history. So there was a people called Israel, and they were fighting with Judah. So what happened? What am I saying? Nah, they never left Egypt. No, the people that's in Canaan, the Canaanites became the Israelites eventually. That's all it is, bro. That's all it is. This is why the DNA showing 50% of the people living there have the DNA of the people from the Canaanites from way back then. They show a continuity. You can't get away from that. And it don't show it don't show African Americans or Afro-West Indians DNA. It showed the J markers and a continuity of those people living there. It's
Okay.
not us.
So Garfield, you said you were going to bring up a map, but you didn't early. Can you bring up the map that you mentioned where you can show biblical Israel and the state of Israel, and showing that these two places are different? What they're saying, the biblical Israel versus the state of Israel, and I think that would help bring some clarity to the discussion, because some people put in the chat that they were confused.
All right, hold on a second. Let me get this right. Hold on 1 second. Let me get this right here. If there's any questions in the meantime, let me get it. Lord, they want me to pay for that. Hold on, let me see if we have any maps here. Hold on 1 second. Let me search for this. I'll be right back.
Okay. I think, guys, that was a good question. That map, like, let's look at the map of the biblical Israel versus, the state of Israel, because I was confused. I know he said that the nation was concentrated around Samaria, but then I believe the biblical Israel was up and down the entire strip. So I think it would be cool to clarify that with the someone said it ain't no map. Someone said it ain't no map. I mean, we'll see. I mean, he said he was going to show a map, and I'm just curious to see if he can show a map of what he was explaining. Some people say I have all the facts. Christian Anderson said I have all the facts. Y'all are arguing in the chat, going in right now. Oh, I believe that. Usual is that, yeah, I believe that. You said the two have nothing to do with you. I wholeheartedly believe that. I ain't gonna say I believe it. I know it, and I think that Brother Garfield did a good job establishing that, right? Discussing that when he put up slides and talked about the formation of the biblical Israel. So if you study the history of the formation of the biblical Israel versus the history of the state of Israel, two totally different Israels. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. Alazar said, "Hi, told you all that Israel was real." And I ain't gonna lie, I was one of those people that was just like, nope, it ain't real. It never existed. It never existed. So Garfield saying that it did, but it was small, and it wasn't, it wasn't like the biblical Israel. But he did admit that the 12 tribes did not exist. So Polymath said this is very confusing because I've seen several videos from the past of Garfield saying that Israelites were not real, but rather Canaanites that left from Egypt unless he changed his stance. Oh, okay. Because tonight, what Brother Garfield said was that the Israelites who were there were basically Canaanites who migrated, I think he said from the south to north or north to south. And he was saying that they never left Egypt. So that's what he said tonight. So Polymath, I cannot speak for the other videos that you may have seen of him speaking in the past, but I will say this. that we need to allow people to grow in their thinking, right? So he may very well, because I mean, if you saw several videos of him in the past making that claim, he might have. I don't know. I've never heard him make that claim, but he might have made that claim. And if he did, let's just say, for example, that he did, are we not allowed to evolve in our thinking? It's kind of like when you're sitting there having conversations, right? At a certain time in space, you're having those conversations based on the knowledge you have at that particular time period, right? Like, you probably all could find some old videos of me making claims that today I don't subscribe to, right? So we all have to I feel like we all have to give people that time, right? Or that ability to grow in their thinking. Even when you read, and I know this is, we're talking about history, but I'm thinking about Dr. King right now. And Dr. King, like, if you read some of the stuff that he wrote in the early 60s and some of the things that he even said in the early 60s, and then you look at, prior to him being assassinated in 68, he began to his thinking changed. It did change. And so again, we have to allow people to change or to evolve in their thinking. All right.
There's no evolution here. I've never said that. So
Oh,
it's
okay. I told him I don't know whether you did or
this is
didn't, but
very confusing. I've seen several videos from the past of Garfield saying the Israelites were not real, but rather Canaanites that left from Egypt. No, my brother, I've never said that. The Israelites are real, but they're, as far as a ethnicity, as far as a culture, they existed for a short period of time, from 853, around 850 to around 720 BC. After that, there was no more Israel again. Israel was done with. That's what it is. After that, if you think about it for a second, though, when were they ever called Israel again after 722 BC? Think about it, everybody. I want everybody to take a step back. The only time Israel came back was what? 1948. There's nobody calling it Israel or that era Israel or them Israelites after 722. So the Israelites no longer existed as a nation. So that's why I may have said that. But as far as Israel existing, I'm one of the few people in the community who have always said that. This image right here I got off Pinterest is very interesting. It shows Palestine at 1947. It shows the Arab sides. The orange is the Jewish sides. So if the top part on the left-hand side that you see, this is around what you call David time period, Solomon's time period, according to the biblical text, right? The Hasmonean kingdom that they had full control of almost 100 years, this is where they controlled. And this is very, very important to the conversation. And bear in mind, they controlled themselves for 100 years. That's when a lot of the writings and the rewritings took place in the biblical text. So at this point in the 2nd century BC, they have control over here after Antiochus Epiphanes. This is what Israel looked like, the Hasmonean kingdom. So that's very important, because if you look at Palestine, where Palestine is, you see that it's not as huge or as long as that time period. And by the way, to the yellow parts on the map of this is the Palestinian side. So this is the Jewish settlements in 1947. The orange is the Jewish settlements. The yellow is where the Arabs or the Palestinians control. So Israel and occupied territory in 1967. You see it right here, the orange. You see the Sinai Peninsula right here. And you see all these areas. So what they're trying to do is, if you're looking at Israel from top to bottom, they're making Israel bigger. They're trying to make it bigger than what it was. Because originally Israel, remember, it's only Samaria. Only Samaria, not around Samaria, not the whole thing like what you see in the Bible. So that's what the problem is. They're using the biblical text to justify them having terror. People are agreeing with it because people believe in it in the text. I don't think if I was in the position of the British, I would have never really brought them there in the first place. I would have found somewhere separate for them to go, because I knew the people of that land would not be. If somebody come and kick down your door, Dr. Maat, and say, hey, you live in a 4-bedroom, and all of a sudden now we're going to make you live, you and your boys live in a 1-bedroom. You'd have been trying to kill that dude every single day while he was trying to tell you that.
No, absolutely. I actually used that analogy when I was explaining the situation to my mother. Like, can you imagine somebody coming into your house doing something like that? And so you're saying that the British, so you think the British, you feel the British were wrong for doing that. And I agree with you, Brother Garfield.
And
But you said the way they were looking at it was like, well, our people were there anyway, or there before anyway, so it's ours. So they felt some sort of ownership,
remember,
given that they were.
I don't know if you remember this slide that I made. Hold on 1 second. I
Mhm.
made a slide years ago, 7 years ago on Sonnet. Matter of fact, I can't believe these slides are that old. Oh man, 7, 8 years. I made a slide years ago and I showed this guy. This guy right here. Let me show it on the screen. Let me take this off. What
Only I agree
happened?
with you. Only go ahead. I'm listening, Brother Garfield.
Yeah, what happened is, ladies and gentlemen, you have a group called the Commandment Keepers. And what happened is this gentleman was one of the leaders, Wentworth, right? I don't really care he's hugging this white woman or whatever. I'm not even trying to go at him. But this guy, Ashkenazi Jew Jake Faitlovich, who was funded by the Baron de Rothschilds to find Africans to validate Zionist false claims of actual history. Now, the Ashkenazi Jews were looking for a land. When they thought the Ethiopians were Jews, they got funding from the Rothschilds. This is not a conspiracy. This is a real story. This is not something Garfield is making up some conspiracy theory like, Phil Valentine or one of them dudes, Duke of Tears. No, this is real life stuff. Now, why would they want to go to Africa to find Jews? Because once they find them and say, hey, you're a Jew, they're going to tell you, I'm your brother. Although I have the other color, I'm your brother. Because Jake Faitlovich was so racist, he said the people in Egypt that was black was because of the sun. So now these people are taking over and saying, hey, so now Wentworth, it says that he embraced the Hebrew faith after he heard about what the Faitlovich said to them about the Ethiopians, the Falashas originating, being the original Jews. Mm-hmm. But look at Faitlovich. This is from Wikipedia. He was born in Poland, visited Ethiopia for the first time in 1904. He received a grant from the Rothschild family to look for black Jews. I'm not making it up. It's the truth. Newspapers reported at the time the European scholar who had studied at the School for Oriental Languages at the Sorbonne in Paris astounded the Ethiopian emperor Menelik II with his fluent command of the country's languages and told him that the Ethiopian Jewish tribes were connected to the white Jews elsewhere in the world. So now they're using them to justify who they are so that they could find their Israel. So they were yo, it's crazy out here, man. It's crazy out here. They was going to make Buffalo, New York, Israel at one point with Mordecai Noah in the 1800s.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, so people got to understand this Jewish thing is bigger than... Listen, family, my solution for these two parties is to take both of them out of the land. Because technically, the Palestinians and the Jews who were there from before 1947 have a right to live there. But these wars are going to continue, and then we're going to be arguing all the time. Yeah, man, I'm for the Palestinian. I'm for the Israelites. I'm for the Palestinian. I'm for the Israel. This is not going to stop. Because at the underlining of this is the religious part of them saying they're chosen of God, and that these Muslims are also saying they're chosen because they follow the Quran, and that these are infidels. So at the end of the day, although it might not have originally started off as a religious thing, it's now a religious thing.
We're both parties.
Now, everybody all over the world who's an Israelite. Look at my brother Usual. That's my Hebrew brother. If once it starts, the whole mood changes because now he has to pick a side. He has to pick his Israelite brothers. I don't wrong him for that. He's holding to his culture. And if a Palestinian come on, he's going to hold to that. A Muslim come on, he's going to hold to the Muslims. But if they both get kicked out, the conversation's over. The argument over. Because remember, Iran and Iraq is mad because the Muslims are getting mistreated in Israel. So they want to fight. They want to fight Israel. They want to fight Israel. I'm telling you, then it boils down to the belief, your Bible belief. It's crazy. I'm telling you, most of these wars with Saudi Arabia and Iran, Syria, all these Arab countries they hate Israel and they hate America for that. So when you're an American, you got to watch your back everywhere you go because of this plot between. I'm saying, I have a place over here. I have a bridge that y'all could purchase and live over the bridge, and that's where y'all gonna live, because it's never gonna stop. It's never gonna stop. This killing children, and the sad part is the Israelite children, the Israeli children, and the Palestinian children have nothing. They don't know nothing about this until they start growing up older. So you're telling me a 5-year-old child deserves to die because adults don't know how to come to some sort of peace? It's crazy. It wasn't religious at the beginning, but it's obvious to me it's religious now. I'm a Hebrew, I'm an Israelite, and I have a right to live here. This is where the Israelites were back in the past, and I have a right to be here.
Yeah, it does. It is religious. Well, like you said, it wasn't initially, but it does have, a religious, I guess you would say, undertone, right? I guess that's what you would say, or it's undergirded by it, or But
now, I wanted to address something that I said earlier that's very important, right? And you know me already. I love to show slides. I love people to feel comfortable with what I'm presenting. There's no hide and seek scholarship here. Hide and seek scholarship. I'm funny. Let me see if I could find this real quickly here. All right, here we go. I had a debate recently about Israelites pre-dynastic time. I mean, pre-Columbus. It was a silly debate, but one of the points that I brought up during the debate that's very interesting, that it's hard to answer for anybody that's into this religion and this belief, is the fact that what is Israelite culture in the 8th century BC? What is Israelite culture? What do they believe in? Because it puts you in a situation where you got to ask yourself, what did these people believe at the time, and what could they bring across before the 8th century? So one of the questions I ask is, do we have any evidence these rituals claimed to be Israelite being practiced before leaving Israel? Because remember, the whole lost tribe thing is about leaving Israel. Would you believe, Dr. Maat, that not one thing on this list was practiced before that time? There's no archaeological record. There's no historical record. There's no anthropological record. There is nothing to prove any of these things was practiced in Israel. But today, we're told these are practices we have to keep. Why? Why are you practicing this? Why are you doing them? You have no evidence these things were practiced. Every record we have of Sabbath is telling us that you could do whatever you want on the Sabbath. On the Feast of Tabernacles, First Fruit, Feast of Trumpets, Pentecost, Sabbath, 7-day week, Day of Atonement. Why are these holy days attached to Babylon? What happened? Oh, y'all was in Babylon, and y'all follow a calendar set by the Babylonians. So I'm saying to everybody, when you say you're an Israelite or you're an ancient Israelite, from what are you practicing? There's no evidence of these practices and these religions until like around the 2nd century BC or after. Even the dietary laws don't eat pork. They found pork in the Iron Age period, Iron Age 2 period. They found, you know what, maybe that's why African Americans make the claim, Dr. Maat, because they found thousands of catfish bones, and we love catfish.
Well, I don't eat catfish. I don't eat those scavengers of the sea, but I hear what you're saying. Black folks, especially Southern black folks.
One person, you could bring your number one Hebraic scholar, white, black, red, or blue. Ask him, were these things being practiced? Yeah. Are these things being practiced before the Assyrian exile? So why would this guy come in a debate with me to show me that the people are practicing in America before Columbus because they are the lost tribes, when the so-called lost tribes didn't even know any of these things? It's crazy. Debating is bananas. Fun, I love debating.
I was getting ready to ask you this, and you could stop sharing real quick. We getting ready to close out, but I was going to ask you this. Tell me, because you keep saying this debate. When is this debate coming out? No.
I had a debate already. I had it already.
Is it on your channel so we can check it out?
Yes. It's a debate with me and brother Yawasap. Was there an Israelite presence before Columbus?
Okay. So that's something recent that you've had.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, Brother Garfield, I do appreciate you coming on today to give us this good information. I actually need to go back through and listen to it because it was a lot. And I'm one of those type of people, when someone presents information to me, I got to read it, I got to analyze it. And you gave a whole lot. You went through a whole lot. You said a whole lot. And some went over here and someone over here. So I just want to make sure that, I go back through and actually listen to what you presented, and take time out to analyze what you presented, right? And to, draw emphasis from what you presented. And so I do want to thank you for taking time out. I know you're extremely busy, even as attested to that cell phone going off, beep, 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 beep. So you're very busy, man. And, family, researcher, you're doing a whole lot, entrepreneur, you're doing a whole lot. And so I do appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to be with us. But I do want you to come back on to talk about the Exodus. Is it
Yeah.
real? Did it really happen?
Exodus, Exodus is one of the main things that people got to realize. Without an Exodus, you don't have a religion, because the religion is based on that. So no, that's why the chapter 2 is called "No Exodus, No Religion." Remember, you don't have a conquest. If you don't have a conquest, I mean, come on. People do a lot of things. It says here, let me read this for you real quickly. A century of research by archaeologists and Egyptologists has found no evidence which can be directly related to the Exodus captivity and the escape and travels through the wilderness. Archaeologists generally agree that the Israelites had Canaanite origins. The culture of the earliest Israelite settlements is Canaanite. Their cult objects are those of the Canaanite god El. The pottery remains are in the Canaanite tradition, and the alphabet used is early Canaanite. Let's stop playing games.
Let's stop playing games. I'm
Let's
with you,
stop
brother
playing
Garfield.
games. And let me close out by saying this. This is from William Dever's book, What Did the Bible Writers Know and When Did They Know It? After a century of exhaustive investigation, let me repeat the word, let me say it again, all
Oh,
respectable archaeologists have given up hope of recovering any context that would make Abraham, Isaac, or Jacob credible historical figures. Archaeological investigation of Moses and the Exodus has similarly been discarded as a fruitless pursuit. Based on the archaeological evidence, according to modern archaeological account, the Israelites and their culture did not overtake the region by force, but instead branched out of the indigenous Canaanite peoples that long inhabited the southern Levant, Syria, ancient Israel, and the Transjordan region. Through a gradual evolution of a distinct monolatristic, later cementing as monotheistic religion centered on Yahweh. The outgrowth of Yahweh-centric monolatrism from Canaanite polytheism started with Yahwism, the belief in the existence of the many gods and goddesses of the Canaanite pantheon, but with the consistent worship of only Yahweh. Along with a number of cultic practices, this gave rise to a separate Israelite ethnic group identity. The final transition of their Yahweh-based religion to monotheism and rejection of the existence of other Canaanite gods set the Israelites apart from their fellow Canaanite brethren. The Israelites, however, continued, finally, to retain various cultural commonalities with other Canaanites, including the use of one of the Canaanite dialects, Hebrew, which is today the only living descendant of that language group. Fire! 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 That's my alien sign for all my alien people out there. We aliens. That's it.
Wow. Thank you so much, Brother Garfield. Appreciate that. I had to drop a bomb for you, and I do appreciate it, Brother Garfield. And I appreciate everyone tuning in. I'm always very appreciative when people click the link and come in and stay and listen, because I know that they could have done other things with their time, but they chose to participate, in this virtual discourse, right, between you and I. And I do appreciate you all tuning in. Before you guys get out, make sure that you thumb up the videos, okay? I know a lot of you are here from Garfield's platform. Thumb up the video, thumb it up, thumb it up. If you're on my platform, thumb it up, thumb it up, thumb it up, and also share this discussion. Let's get this information out to the people. And I see someone saying, "Oh, this isn't new information. Maybe it is to adjust." I mean, come on, y'all. Like, I mean, you say, and that's one of my pet peeves. When people say this isn't new, what may not be new to you may be new to somebody else. Right. So, it's a lot of things that I could say that I know, and then it would be new to you, and vice versa. So we got to stop with that. That's immature talk. So anyway, family, make sure that you thumb up the video, thumb it up, thumb it up. And also, family, subscribe to our YouTube channels. Make sure you hit the notification bell so that whenever we go live, you receive a notification. Also, family, I'll be back live tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Today at MSU, the students held an anti-genocide rally. And so I'm going to bring on some of those students to just share their thoughts, about, why they created and, organized this rally. And over, 100 students showed up, and it was powerful. And I just enjoyed watching students utilize their voice, and express themselves. And so it was a beautiful thing, family. So I'm going to bring them on tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to talk about the rally. Again, Brother Garfield, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on. But payback, boy, I'm going to get you back. Payback, boy, I'm going to get you back. I'm going to get you back. You're going to be like, oh, I'm like, hold up. Boop. Watch me. I said, oh, payback.
Hey, shout out to Tiffany in the chat, man. Thanks for putting the links out and everything. And shout out to everybody, the moderators. Whether you love Garfield or hate him, we got to recognize the people also who donated. JT Coin Rings, usual. Yeah. JT Coins Ring says, sounds good to Dr. Maat. Usual again. And Robert Benjamin, peace and love to y'all. I didn't get to your question, but let me answer you. Were they kush? No. Let me just get that out of the way. All right, they weren't kush. But peace and love, sis. I got to run. Thank you for having me on. And it's a pleasure, of course. Hey, for y'all don't know, check out MELTREK. Garfield is a guest in there. Yeah, MELTREK, yeah.
I don't know. After tonight, I might erase the quake. No, I'm just playing. Use the main character. I'm just talking trash. But I get with you, Brother Garfield. Take care, okay?
All right, peace and love.
All right, family. Peace and love, family. Peace and love. See you tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace and